Hi, I'm Kathy. I'm your booklegger today, and I'm going to be introducing 6 books to your class, and I hope you enjoy them. You'll be getting a backpack that has a clipboard in it. Just ask your teacher what the procedure is for checking out the books, and I hope you enjoy them. So we're going to start with our first book. Our first book, it's not The Three Little Pigs, but it is a fractured tale based on The Three Little Pigs. And the story is called The Three Little Javelinas. So this is a fractured fairy tale, and like The Three Little Pigs, the main characters are not pigs, but they are javelinas. Javelinas are different than pigs. Pigs can be quite large. They're from the swine family, but javelinas are smaller, and they're really hairy, and they have scent glands under their eyes and on their backs, so you might be able to smell a javelina before you see one. And the javelina is in the peccary family. And so that is the main way that our story of The Three Little Pigs has been changed. The setting of the story of the Three Little Javelinas is set in the Southwest, kind of where it's very deserty and there's cactus, and that will influence the story very greatly. One of the cool features about this book is that the illustrations are very, very detailed. And another very special feature of this book is that it has 2 languages. It has English side by side with Spanish, so you can compare both languages, which is really a cool feature of this book. So the story starts out like The Three Little Pigs, but the 3 little javelinas, they set out to seek their fortune. And the first little javelina doesn't build his house out of straw. Yeah, that's straw, like the first little pig, but he makes his house out of tumbleweed, and you would find tumbleweed in the Southwest in the desert. The second little javelina doesn't build his house out of sticks, although they're kind of like sticks. They are sticks that you would find in an old dried up saguaro cactus. They're quite tall, and when they dry up, these sticks are called ribs, and they hold up the saguaro cactus nice and tall, and those are removed, and the Southwest Native Americans, you collect the sticks, and they use them for hitting sweet, juicy fruits out of cactus. But our second little javelina builds his house out of saguaro cactus sticks. Our third little javelina is a very smart girl javelina. She will build her house out of bricks, kind of like the third little pig did. But these bricks are special. They're called adobe bricks, and they're made out of mud and straw. And so, as you know, The Three Little Pigs has an evil character, the big bad wolf. But there's no big bad wolf in this story. There is a coyote. And in Southwest Native American culture, the coyote is known as the trickster of all animals. And this coyote can make his voice sound like a little javelina and try and sneak into your house. Or the coyote can shapeshift and get through small little spaces. So you'll have to read to find out how similar and different the 3 little javelinas are from the 3 little pigs. And this is also called in Spanish, Los Tres Pequeños Jabalíes, the 3 little javelinas. All right. So our first book takes place in the Southwest in the desert. Our second book will take place in the ocean, a very different kind of area of the world. And I'm going to introduce you to my characters that are in this little bag here. But I'm going to give you some little riddles about the main character. Okay, what has a horn but is unable to honk? Now, I suppose horns don't work in the ocean, so let me change that a little bit. This horn is actually a tooth, and it's 10 feet long. So what has a 10-foot long tooth but is unable to use it for eating? All right, here's more clues. So what creature is sometimes called the unicorn of the sea? And this is the main character of our next book, and it is the narwhal. And the narwhal makes friends with a jellyfish. They couldn't be 2 more different creatures. Narwhal thinks jellyfish is made out of jelly, and jellyfish thinks that this horn is just so unusual. But despite their differences, they become very good friends. So in our story, I'll set them down over here. In our story, Narwhal, Unicorn of the Sea, is part of an 8-book series that we have here at the Beloit Public Library in the graphic novel section. And it is a graphic novel, so you're going to see lots of drawings and some words, but lots of really cool drawings drawn by Ben Clanton. And this book has some chapters in it. You will find some fun facts about narwhals and some fun facts about jellyfish. Now, in one of the chapters, narwhals that travel in a group are called pods. But in our story, Narwhal can't find anybody that's just like him. So to become part of his pod, he finds all these other creatures like sharks, and he gives them a special horn. And if you have a horn, you can become part of Narwhal's pod. So it includes everyone. Narwhal is just the nicest, kindest, most lovable creature, where Jelly is a little more practical. So you'll also find out how to read a book by using your imagination. What if it has no words or pictures? How to use your imagination for that. And there's also a robot and some waffles in it. So you'll have to read to find out more about Narwhal, the Unicorn of the Sea, and his friend Jelly. All right. So, Narwhal and Jelly, you know, are friends. And so, Hilo and DJ and Gina Cooper are also friends in this graphic novel called Hilo, the Boy Who Crashes to Earth. So this is another story about friends, and Hilo crashes to Earth, and he is found by DJ, and they become very good friends. So the way DJ finds Hilo is at the bottom of a crater, and DJ finds him. Hilo kind of wakes up from being thrown to Earth and doesn't know who he is or where he is or what he's sent to Earth for. So DJ and his friend Gina Cooper try and help Hilo. They get him dressed in human clothes, and they try and help Hilo get his memory back. So while they're doing this, they encounter some really weird creatures that's a mixture of a robot and an ant. I think they call them rants. Get it? Robot ants. And they chase DJ and Hilo and Gina Cooper, and it's terrifying. And they find out, the kids find out, that the rants were sent to rebuild the most giant, evil, huge monstrosity called Razorwork. And Razorwork has been sent to Earth to destroy it. So the friends, DJ and Gina and Hilo, are going to use their friendship, work together to try and save the Earth. And that is Hilo, the Boy That Was Sent to Earth, also part of a series here in the graphic novel section at the library. So while Hilo, Gina, and DJ are trying to make the world a better place, I've got two brothers that are trying to make the world a worse place. This is a chapter book. There's part of 6 books in this series. This is the first in the series, called The Infamous Ratsos. They are 2 brothers that are rats, and there's Louie and Ralphie. Louie's in 5th grade, Ralphie's in 3rd grade. And they live with their dad, Big Lou, and it's just the 3 of them. Their mom's been gone for a while, and they're kind of sad without her, but they're trying to make it. And Big Lou says, the dad says, there's 2 kinds of people in this world, softies and tough guys. And so Louie and Ralphie want to be really tough. So here's an example of how they're going to be tough. So here's a picture of, they live in the city, so they live in an apartment building. Here they are on the, I don't know what floor they live on in their apartment, but they're up high and they've got a water balloon and they're going to drop it outside the window. And that seems pretty mean, but then what happens is it lands on a flower pot that's quite dry, and the water's very helpful to the flowers. So this is a book about like bad deeds that went good. So in one of the chapters, we'll call it the hat stealing incident. Hats off. And the two boys, the two rat brothers, have planned to go to school, and showing how tough they are, they're going to take this little tiny hat off of Chad Badgerton. Now, Chad Badgerton kind of looks like a badger, where the Ratso brothers kind of look like rats, so there's a little animal theme going on here. So one brother distracts Chad Badgerton, and the other one steals Chad Badgerton's hat, and they think that shows how tough we are, because we took a big kid's hat. However, the hat really belongs to the tiniest classmate named Tiny Crawley, and it's his hat. So the Ratso brothers actually did a good thing. They rescued the hat, and the third grade teacher, Miss Beavers, get it, she's a creature too. She is just thrilled that the Ratso brothers saved the day and got the hat back for Tiny Crawley. And poor Chad Badgerton is sent to the office to talk to the principal, Mr. Ferretti. Ferretti, get it? Another chapter, we'll call it the snow shoveling incident, and it involves a storekeeper named Mr. O'Hare. Get it? O'Hare, a rabbit. And there's another chapter where a new kid comes to school. Her name is Florinda Rabitsky. Florinda Rabitsky, Rabbit. Her nickname is Fluffy, and the two brothers are going to prepare for her a stinky surprise. Not very nice, but we'll find out how that goes. And finally, the last chapter, one of the last chapters, there's a character who lives in the apartment building, is always looking crabby and angry, and her name is Mrs. Porcupini, and they are going to do something to her window, which is quite mean. And finally, maybe trouble catches up to them. The boys get a letter from the principal, and their dad is going to have to deal with it. But remember, this is a story of bad deeds going good. So, this is the infamous Ratsos. So while these two brothers are trying to do bad deeds, we have some more brothers in the next book about Ruby and the Booker boys. And the Booker boys are Ruby's brothers. And Ruby is a third grader, and this one is called Trivia Queen, third grade supreme. And she is an expert on trivia, especially animal trivia. She is really good. So, at her school, Ruby's brothers go to her school. It's a school that has little kids all the way up through 8th grade. And Ruby's brothers are like 7th and 8th grade, and there's another brother in there. And the school is going to have a trivia contest. And so there will be one person from each grade representing the grade, and they will participate in the trivia contest, and whoever has the most answers correct will win free tickets to the local zoo for their whole class for the whole year. It's a great, great prize. But this contest does not include third graders anymore, because when the contest had second and third graders, the second and third graders would kind of have a meltdown when they got an answer wrong, so it never went well, so they are not included anymore. But Ruby talks to her third grade teacher, and the third grade teacher and Ruby go to the principal and asks if Ruby can participate on behalf of third grade. So the principal asks Ruby some very hard trivia questions. Ruby answers them correctly, and she's very mature about it, and she can handle herself very well. So the principal says, this one time, we will allow a third grade participant. So Ruby's so excited, she goes home and she tells her parents and her brothers, and two of her brothers say, hey, we're in the contest too. So now there's 3 people in the same family who are competing against each other to try and win the trivia contest with those zoo tickets included. So Ruby has to study really hard. So in the back of the book, there are some trivia questions that Ruby prepares for herself. So I'm going to ask you probably the hardest one first. So this is going to be a silent quiz. So fingers only will be your answer. So 1 finger if you think the answer is the first choice they give you, 2 fingers for the second choice, 3 fingers for the third choice, and I have a few with 4 choices. So here's the hardest one. Think about rhinoceroses. Okay, now We talked about animal families before a little bit, like we talked about pigs are in the swine family, and the javelinas and the peccari family. So animals can be classified in families. So think about rhinos. Okay, so rhinos are in the same family as elephants, seals, or horses. The choices are rhinos are in the same family as elephants, seals, or horses. Now I'm going to guess a lot of you are going with elephants. I would think so too. But let's think about rhinos' feet. So rhinos' feet, if you look at the very bottom, these bottom parts are called hooves. Okay. Now, elephants, the bottoms of their feet, these are called toes. So just because of that, elephants and rhinos are not in the same family. Elephants are not included, but horses have hooves. So rhinos and horses are in the same family because they have hooves, not toes. That was my hardest question. All right, let's try some other ones. I bet you'll get this one. Which continent on the planet is the only one that doesn't have snakes? Which continent on the planet is the only one that doesn't have snakes? Africa, Asia, or Antarctica? Africa, Asia, or Antarctica? And the answer is Antarctica. It's way too cold. All right, we'll try another one. Which animal is the world's largest mammal? Another way to group creatures. All right, which animal is the world's largest mammal? Human, giraffe, shark, or a blue whale? Human, giraffe, shark, or a blue whale? And the correct answer is blue whale. All right, so there's way more trivia questions in the back for you to practice and find out if Ruby and her brothers, how they compete against each other and who wins the trivia contest. Right. Now, speaking of trivia, this is my last book. So I am going to give you some clues about this book. It's in my top secret bag. Here we go. And this event for this nonfiction book that I have happened in 1912. This event took 3 hours from beginning to end. It took 3 hours to take place. Okay, now remember this, you have to be very quiet because the more clues I give you, the more you're going to figure out what book is in my top secret bag. So do not take anybody's thinking away from them. 700. 700 is the number of survivors that were able to live through this event. 1,200. These were the number of victims, about the number of victims that did not survive this event. It's getting closer. 20 is the number of lifeboats available. There were supposed to be 64, but there were only 20. 1985 is the year that Robert Ballard, an ocean explorer, and his crew located this ship that was 2 miles underwater with an unmanned submersible. Okay, whisper to your neighbor, what nonfiction book do you think I have in this bag? You whispered nicely, and it is, yes, the Titanic. The Titanic, the ship of luxury that ran into an iceberg and sunk. So, this is a nonfiction book, very cool, has some really great nonfiction text features like the table of contents. It also has some things called like 10 cool things about the Titanic, and here's one of my favorites. When you look at the pictures of the Titanic, you'll see 4 smokestacks, but only 3 worked. The 4th was for good looks. All right. nonfiction book might have something called a cutaway. It's down at the bottom here. It cuts it away so you can see inside the ship. You'll be able to see where the iceberg sliced through the side of the ship and where the water came in through the bottom. So cutaways are very cool text features. There's also photographs in some nonfiction books, so that's a cool text feature. This woman right here is the final survivor of the Titanic. She was only 3 months old when her brother, and her mother were able to get on a lifeboat and be rescued from the Titanic. So she did die in 2009, but she is the oldest, the final survivor. And my last little fun fact, 10 real reasons for the Titanic tragedy. Here's a list of 10 things. And I found this one to be very unusual. The sea that night was unusually calm. Waves would have made the iceberg easier to spot. And so, just to review, this is the nonfiction Titanic by National Geographic, written by Melissa Stewart. And we had Ruby Bridges and the Booker Boys, written by Vanessa Brantley Newton. We had the infamous Ratso Brothers by Kara LaRue and illustrated by Matt Myers. We had High Low, The Boy Who Crashed to Earth by Judd Winnick. And Narwhal, The Unicorn of the Sea by Ben Clanton. And we started off with our fractured fairy tale, The Three Little Javelinas, written by Susan Lowell and illustrated by Jim Harris. And so those are the 6 books you've got in your backpack this month. I hope you enjoy them, and thank you for being good listeners.